I'm with the Director General of the Institute of Directors, who's come in from the UK. Today, I know you're on a very tight schedule. Literally, we've got you for just a few minutes. But you're here with celebrations for the Isle of Man branch, of course.
Yes, we are. It's their 20th anniversary, and they're one of our most active branches, and have been hugely enthusiastic. And we're very pleased to be celebrating that with them. It's just great. It's my first visit here, so I'm really pleased to be here.
What do you do exactly, this group?
The IOD has about 40,000 members, and they are active in business, largely from small and medium-sized enterprises, although we do have directors of big companies as well. But they're all individuals acting in business. We're a voice for the business community, and we talk to the government on tax issues, on energy issues, that kind of thing. In fact, I was at the Labour Party conference last weekend. I'm going to be at the Conservative Party conference this coming weekend, trying to sort of put the business case.
Well, the Isle of Man and tax, I mean, there's two very interesting combinations, of course. I mean, you might have been following how the UK's been dealing with the offshores.
Yes.
Do you follow that closely?
Yes. In fact, my previous job was running the Private Equity and Venture Capital Association. And of course, the Isle of Man is hugely important for private equity and venture capital. So I had some familiarity with it from there. What I do know is that offshore centres like this are enormously important for the British economy as well as for the Isle of Man. I know that this is the centre for Indian companies that are listed in London, for example. But I also think there's an importance to tax neutral jurisdictions in terms of global capital flows, and that was certainly something I became very aware of when I was at running the Private Equity Association.
And is the future, well, what do you think, for just in general, for the business world these days?
Where jurisdictions are well regulated and efficiently run, like this one and the Channel Islands ones, I mean, I think they will be safe. They will be seen as facilitators of global trade and investment, and I think that's hugely important because globalization is just with us. We know that. I'd love to see the rest of the United Kingdom following the kinds of examples that the Isle of Man sets in terms of how low tax rates can foster economic growth, not just in offshore finance, but in areas like the film industry, and particularly importantly, recently, the space industry that I know the Isle of Man is such a leader in.
And there's this thing that we feed the City of London with, this upstreaming of finance and that sort of thing, and there could be some problems in the future with that if the UK government legislates to stop it more. I mean, should we be worried?
Look, I think it's always something we've got to be on our guard against because there's a lot of populist rubbish out there that just says these are tax havens, and politicians have to be educated about why tax-neutral jurisdictions are important. I mean, when I was in private equity and venture capital industry, I saw at first hand a Japanese pension fund that might invest in private equity venture in Italy, but via a London fund, and that can bog you down in 10 years of hassle and jurisdiction and litigation in order to claim the tax exemption that Japanese pension funds are absolutely entitled to under Japanese law. I mean, they got there in the end, but dealing with the bureaucracy of it takes an incredibly long time. That's why tax-neutral jurisdictions, I think, are very important in helping global capital flows. And ultimately, it's in the interests of the ordinary people, in that case, the ordinary Japanese people who are dependent on pension funds for their income. But actually, it helps us all. It's not about evasion. It's not about dodges of different sorts. I mean, it's about facilitating trade in an efficient global way.
I said you're here today for this big lunch. Are you going to be saying these sort of things? Are you talking to the group as a whole today, or are you doing just...
Well, I think the main thing I'm doing is celebrating the fact that they're one of our most vibrant and exciting branches. They've been active now and have had that strong independent identity for 25 years. So we're going to be sort of rejoicing in that. I'm going to be casting my eye back 25 years. I mean, 1988, there were an awful lot of things happening. There was the possibility of a Labour government in Britain led by Neil Kinnock that was going to reintroduce all sorts of socialist measures. There was Nigel Lawson as Chancellor, who was actually cutting tax rates and driving up the tax take, particularly from the wealthy in Britain. So I hope there are some lessons that we can learn from that, because I have a sense of history repeating itself.